Continuing here on the Elias Macko Show, the police officers who were under siege at the Capitol insurrection on January 6th have decided to sue Donald Trump, his allies, his political allies, and members of far-right extremist groups. Now, what are the legal implications here? How is this going to play out? Let's speak to our legal expert, Ari Goldkind. He's a criminal defense lawyer and CTV legal analyst. Ari, it's always great to talk to you.
Elias, great to be on with you.
So this is a civil suit. These are the officers that were attacked on January 6th, suing, as I mentioned, Donald Trump, his allies, member of far-right extremist groups. What do you think their case is here, Ari?
Slim to none to weak, to put it in a kind fashion. This is about money. This is about publicity. I think this conversation gets bogged down with left versus right politics. In other words, I think the lawsuit is hideous on a number of levels, but it doesn't mean I think January 6th was good. I think it was a disgrace. I think it was inappropriate, to put it mildly, and I think it very wrongly allowed the far left, which in my view is ruining the United States, to be able to tar 74 million Republican voters with a "you're a Trump moron" label. So I think January 6th was a debacle and a disgrace. However, this lawsuit is so weak, it is so feeble, it is so authoritarian. And from a criminal law point of view, Elias, what's even more bizarre about it is the one person who dies that day because of this riot is an unarmed protester shot by a police officer who describes himself as a hero. The language used by these officers is just so over-the-top bizarre.
So Ari, what were they supposed to do? What were these officers supposed to do as thousands and thousands of people entered the Capitol building? I'm just wondering, what are they supposed to do? Just stand back, everyone, let them in?
I love that question. So there's two things. One, what are they supposed to do that day? And if it were me and they were going to sue somebody properly, who should it be? Okay. The first question is, what should they have done that day? They should have done exactly what they did, except for, Elias, and I can guarantee you this is factual. If we were talking about a riot, a BLM riot from last year, and a white officer had shot an unarmed black protester, we would be having a conversation where that officer should be, hung in the town square and put in jail for the rest of their life. The black officer who shoots the white unarmed protester, and again, not defending what she did, not defending what they did, I think they're all a bunch of idiots, quite frankly, Elias, and I'm using nice language for the 10 o'clock a.m. slot.
Ari, your analogy is so off base here. If there was a BLM protest that entered the Capitol, lots of the protesters would have been killed, and everyone would have been fine with it because they'd been in the Capitol.
Totally, completely. And I like you, and I always like people I disagree with. I could not disagree with you more. I think that sort of conjecture
you think there could have been a protest from the so-called left-wing extremists inside the Capitol trying to kill members of Congress, and the public would have sided with terrorists? They wouldn't.
Well, hold on. First of all, they wouldn't have been called terrorists. You well know you can't call the people who were violent last year. You can't call the people that burned down U.S. cities. You can't call them terrorists. You know that because Twitter doesn't allow you to. Now,
if they're on the streets fighting for a cause, and we all know the cause they were fighting for, and we can and I'll admit that you take a look at the 100%, the whole pie of protesters. There's a percentage, and I don't know what the percentage is, that would qualify among the extremists. But where you lose me, Ari, is that this happened inside the Capitol, and they had a plan. They wanted to hang Mike Pence, for crying out loud. And if BLM protesters wanted to do the same thing, they would be treated the same way. I really do think that.
Okay, so here's the point. I'm happy to lose you. You and I don't have to agree in every segment we do. I disagree with you. Yeah. If you had those protesters going in there to do this and to do that, there is no way that MSNBC and CNN and the Elias Macko Show would call them terrorists. I'm sorry. It's just the political zeitgeist.
Anyone who goes into a building of government and tries to kill people, terrorist. I'm going to say it. My controversial take. I mean, really.
It's not controversial, but that's fine. But hold on. You know that they did that in a number of courthouses in Oregon and Washington. Nobody called them terrorists. They were called peaceful protesters by Chris Cuomo. So at the end of the day, we agree that what they did was hideous and wrong. The topic, which I know we haven't delved into, is that the lawsuit have merit. And what they're basically saying is that we're going to go after Trump and all the other morons on the far right. But what they should be doing is going after their own superiors. If you look into the weeds here, they were undermanned, not being sexist with that term. They were under-resourced. But to go out for police officers who were doing their job to go after the criminals or the alleged criminals and phone records, we don't have time to get into this. Yep. That, in my view, Elias, should give every police officer who's ever hurt in the line of duty the ability to sue the people that hurt them. We do not have that in North America.
Hey, let me tell you, you're onto something here, because that is a question that does need to be answered. And a lot of people allege, right, that Donald Trump was receiving phone calls. They need more backup on the Capitol, at the Capitol. And the response was no, right? So that's interesting. That's something
that's why they want his phone records.
Yeah. All right. Listen, Ari, we're totally out of time. On another day, I'd love to, you know what I'd love to do with you one day? Talk about this, but imagine it was an episode of Law and Order and Jack McCoy was prosecuting this criminally, seeing how this would turn out. Ari,
just
it's
so
great.
Your listeners know, in the 10 seconds I have left, I grew up watching Jack McCoy, and it's one of the reasons I do this job, because he's one of the greatest Sam Waterston characters ever.
Totally agree. Hey, something we agree on this morning. Ari Goldkind, criminal defense lawyer and CTV legal analyst.